Hello there and welcome to another episode of Blue Frequency, a production of the Wesley College alumni in the Middle East. And over the past few episodes, we spoke about several factors. We led with the 150-year celebration of Wesley College. To be honest, I still can't pronounce that word, it's just whatever. Anyway, so moving on, and then we spoke about the cricket matches, rugby matches and all of that, how we celebrated 150 years. But this episode is extra important for every expat, Sri Lankan expat in the Middle East, and it is about Project Blueprint, right? Project Blueprint on the 25th of May here in Dubai. It's open to anyone and everyone who are interested with just one thing, how to progress in life and how to open up their minds. And to talk about this, we actually have the head of the project himself, Mr. Ashan Musafer. So Ashan, just for everyone's information, we need to thank Ashan for helping us out with this entire production today. He actually lent us his apartment, and we need to thank his beautiful wife for actually helping us put the entire setup together as well. So Ashan, nice to have you with us again. And we've spoken before about Project Blueprint, but we are about to expand on it and what exactly it is about, what it entails, and how the event on the 25th of May is going to go on. So again, I ask you, what was the thought process when Project Blueprint came on? I'm given to understand it's the second year running.
It is the second year, but if you look at the history of Blueprint, the whole project started during COVID. So at that time, we realized, we had a lot of our boys from Wesley who were losing jobs, and something had to be done. So at that time, Istiak Razik approached me, and we decided, okay, we need to do something. And we started helping the boys through, working on their resumes, trying to see how to improve their interview skills so that, they can come out of that difficult situation. So that happened a couple of years ago. So that was not called Blueprint at that time. But then we realized, this was actually helping.
So back when you all initially put this out, it was just a normal workshop. You just called it a workshop for Wesleyans.
Exactly. It was just a workshop to help those who were losing jobs. That was the purpose behind it. And then we thought, okay, this might be really useful for others to also join and learn. And then we thought, okay, why don't we open it up for any Sri Lankan expatriate to come and learn and develop themselves and think about their future careers.
It is an interesting fact that you mentioned it, Ashan, because we know everyone thinks like the UAE, the Dubai thing, they get caught in this whole misconception. Yes, Dubai is one of the fastest growing countries in the world, and when I say fast, like fast, right? You have to get with the times. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've been here not too long, like maybe much less than you, but Dubai is evolving constantly. Like unlike any other nation in the world, they're moving constantly, and you have to get with the times. Right? If I'm not mistaken, about a decade ago, the way to find a job here was where you print up your resume, drop it off at certain places. But now that is completely out of the picture, right? You have to have your LinkedIn on point. You have to have a perfect resume. Your networking skills have to be brilliant, right? So is that something Project Blueprint plans on touching on the 25th of May?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to have a session called Workforce Transitioning or Workforce Transitions. It's all about understanding what are the changes that have happened in the job market. So we got this amazing speaker, Mr. Manish Mishra, who is going to join us on that day, and he's going to delve into the topic of how have things changed in the last couple of years, and how do we tailor our, let's say, resume, how do we present ourselves for these opportunities that exist. And of course the market has changed significantly. Unfortunately, a lot of us think that having that perfect resume is going to land us the job. It's not the case anymore. There's a lot of factors to be considered, and as human resources don't have the time to go through every single CV or resume that goes in, and there are so many people who want to work in Dubai. So you are competing against a huge pool of people. So how do you put yourself out there, or how do you make yours? How do you highlight it?
Is it like you said, like back in Sri Lanka, if you're looking for work, you can apply for it. But then again, it's a small pool of people. You're competing against another Sri Lankan. But here it's a diverse amount of people. You get people from different facets of life, different nationalities. Like obviously the skill set is going to vary and like the cultures are going to vary. So it's again for the recruiting agent also it's going to be very difficult to like it's like finding a needle in the haystack.
Absolutely.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So it's about being that needle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And diversity helps. So every company, multinational or any company would love to have a bit of diversity because people come from different cultures, would have different ways of thinking. They will bring new ideas to the company. So it's always good to have diversity. But then, how do you how do you make your CV or how do you, land that job? So that was the difficulty for a lot of us. Now myself inclusive, I used to work in Melbourne, so coming to UAE was a big change. I work in a very niche kind of environment, and I realized that applying for jobs alone is not good enough. I had to go put myself out there. I need to network and to speak to people. And eventually, the job that I got at that time, a couple of years ago, was through LinkedIn. I basically spoke to a gentleman. We had a coffee. I explained to him, my background. I never mentioned to him that I was looking for a job. I just said, would you like to have a coffee? Can we, I'd like to know more about what your company does. And then during that conversation, he basically said, why don't you join us? And that's how things work here. So you need to really think outside of the box as well. You shouldn't just because you applied for the job doesn't mean that your job is over, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't stop there. You have to follow up. You have to do other actions in order to complete that task.
So now that you mentioned that, Ashan, how is project now? This is your experience over the past few years, how you navigated as since moving to the UAE. But how is Project Blueprint going to be that key factor or that platform or that place that navigates you through this whole process of finding the correct job, putting yourself out there, networking with people? How is that going to help? Instagram, so like people, it's a using LinkedIn is a skill, right? It's like I get it. On Instagram you can put up a story, blah blah. You can find all the likes and yada yada. But how's LinkedIn? How important is it to navigate yourself with LinkedIn? Because I feel that it's very, very, very important now.
Yeah. So I think there were two parts to that question, right? First of all, how will Blueprint help?
Yes.
So Blueprint is not going to give you all the answers. I think that's really important.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. Oh wait, it will not give you all the answers, but it's all about a change of mindset.
Yes.
It's about thinking outside the box, speaking to like-minded people, and also being vulnerable. Being honest to yourself that yes, work needs to be done. And I think the whole purpose of Blueprint is to break the shackles and become that person who thinks that they want to grow, or have that mindset in order to change how things are usually done. Okay, that's the purpose of Blueprint, and as I said, it's not going to give you all the answers. The second part of the question, being LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is really important. Now there will be 100 ways of having the perfect LinkedIn profile. I don't think anyone would know this as a certain, but what you need to make sure is that you've updated it, that whoever who looks at your profile gets the picture, gets the idea of who you are, and you have to be very honest. And because one issue with LinkedIn is it can be a platform to just brag about yourself. Case like because once you're if you lie, you will have to cover it up with another 10, 15 lies. You have to be truthful, because I as a person, I believe in that, and that at the end of the day, people hire you for who you are. Right? More than the skills can be taught, but personalities what makes who you are, and how does your personality fit to that particular job. So that's how the hiring manager would be thinking about this. Are you the right fit? I recently gave a reference to a friend, and the hiring manager asked me, what kind of a person is he? How does he work with? He didn't question me at all. What are his skills? What's his educational background? None of that. They just want to know his personality. How would he fit in for this particular role that he has applied for? So you see the dynamic has changed.
Yeah.
And skills, as I said before, can be taught, but personality, that is who you are, and that needs to be improved. You always need to think about how you're going to change your personality to the requirements.
So is that something that Project Blueprints is going to touch on? Like, I know changing people is very difficult these days, with everything around.
Yeah.
But again, the question that I consistently ask is like, how is this particular project or workshop gonna help a young or even an older person to get to that point, that particular mind change, that personality change, like where they self-reflection saying, okay, I need to change certain things of how I operate and how I function in life. So how will Project Blueprint, touch on that?
I'll give you an example. Okay, so now, as you know, the workforce consists of different diverse cultural backgrounds, of a group of people with different backgrounds, but also different ages.
Yes.
Okay, so now you have a younger generation entering the workforce, then you have the older generation, and then you have some of us who are in between.
Not too sure where we are.
Exactly, right? So now the communication between these three age groups are very different. And do we understand the younger generation? And does the younger generation understand the older generation? Okay, so now imagine in a company you have a team and you have this huge disparity in age. Now communication between these different ages is very, very different.
Yeah.
So that's an example of where Blueprint can help you, because we are going to have a session just on that fact, about the different age groups, on how do you talk to each other or how do you communicate your message, because it's very easy to misinterpret someone, and miscommunication in a workplace results in creating toxic environments or creating real messes in workplaces. So having that clear communication or understanding that there is a way of explaining it to someone, or there is a way of explaining something to different age groups will be different. Now you also need to think about cultural backgrounds. You have different cultures. You have cultures like the Asian cultures were very hierarchy based, whereas then you have the Western culture, which is more flat based cultures where they don't believe in hierarchy.
Yeah.
Where everyone can have their opinion, which is also great. There are positives and negatives in both.
In every culture, yeah.
Absolutely. But now you need to know. Let's say, imagine that you go for an interview, and of course, by accent, by speaking to the person, by visual, you get an understanding of who you're speaking to. And at that moment, you have to think to yourself, okay, how am I going to tackle these questions? You have probably a couple of seconds to make a choice. Now, are you going to go down the Asian kind of mindset that most of us have, coming from Sri Lanka?
Yeah.
Or are you going to take the Western route and give your opinion on very hard questions?
Or do you play both ways?
Exactly. How are you going to handle it? And I think you have seconds to think about this. So that's what you need to put yourself out there. You have to realize, coming to such a multicultural country, there are so many dimensions at play. There are so many factors that you need to consider. And I think these are the points that we want people to understand. It's not that Blueprint is going to give you answers. It's not about, do this here, do this there. It's more about being aware that such exist, that such things are at play in the background. So it's about being aware at the end of the day.